Hello YouTube, this is my 2024 Suzuki V-STROM 1050DE.
You gotta focus on yourself, on your faith.
About 1,000 miles on this, I want to do a quick review about it. Tell you some of the things I like and a lot of the things I hate about this bike. It doesn't seem like this bike is overly popular in the United States or much anywhere really. It's fat, it's wide, and heavy. Things that don't go well if you want to ride this bike off-road. So let's talk about some of the things I really hate about this bike to begin with, and then we'll go on to some of the things I really do like about this bike. So as I said before, this is a 2024. I bought this from the dealership I own. We sell Suzuki, Yamaha, CF Moto, and Arctic Cat. And we don't really sell a ton of Suzuki products. Well, let's take a quick look at this bike, go over some of the features and some of the good and bad things about this bike. So some of the reasons I bought this bike was I do like a bigger adventure bike for longer hauls, longer trips, like more than 200 miles. Be able to have power on the highway more so than you'd have on a smaller displacement motor. This bike has cruise control on it. A lot of the mid-range bikes don't even have cruise control on them. Anyway, let's get into some of the things I hate about this bike to start off with. Okay, one of the things I hate about this bike is how tippy it feels. So, good on. Now, what's crazy, okay, I'm 5'10". I am barely able to tiptoe this bike, and I have the low seat on this bike. It sits really high, and I'm not really sure why, because the ground clearance is not that great on this bike either. If you'll notice, the foot pegs, they hit me right where my leg would normally want to be on this bike. So every time you go to put your foot down and you got your boot on, your boot actually catches the pegs right here, right down in there. And it's super annoying. It has caused me to drop the bike multiple times, and I hardly ever drop bikes. Any other bikes I've ridden, I like maybe drop them once or twice, but this bike, I've dropped a ton. And I really think it has something to do with where the foot peg placement is. If you try to go in front of them, it's like, it doesn't work. You try to go in back, it's hard to keep your feet down where they should be. It's not comfortable to try and put your feet down. The other thing I think going on with this bike is it is a V-twin. So you've got your front cylinder this way and your front cylinder back this way. So I think the actual frame of the bike is wider than most bikes I've ridden. Like some of the other bikes I've ridden, like the Yamaha T7, even the Yamaha 1200 Super Tenere. It doesn't feel as wide as this bike feels. Even the DE, the 800 DE, does not feel as wide. It does feel as tall, but it doesn't feel as wide as this bike. So because of that, this bike feels tippy when you're coming to a stop or you're trying to put your feet down. So here's just a close-up of how my legs are. Whoops, see, now it's tippy. See, like, I can flat foot there, but every time I put my leg down, the natural position for me would be right where the foot peg is. So I'm having to bend my leg backwards and try and hold the bike up, which makes it very difficult to hold this bike up. If you slip a little bit, you're going to go down. Let's talk about some of the other things I didn't like about the bike. This kind of is going to show you some of the mods I've done. I did not like the mirrors. It was hard to adjust them where I wanted them, and I like to be able to move my mirrors out of the way too. The hand guards, if that's what you want to call them, the plastic pieces that were here, I dropped the bike one time and they broke right off. The stock levers did not feel good. They were adjustable, but these are just much better. You can use two fingers on them. And you can fully adjust these ones. These ones adjust much better. The factory levers are not very good. Let's talk about the stock tires. They were just abysmal. They were probably a 90-10. And where I like to ride off-road, I went with more of a 50-50 here. These are the Shinko's Adventure tires. They're a pretty good tire. I would like something a little more aggressive for a front tire, though, in the riding I do. One other problem I noticed riding off-road, I've kicked some stuff up into the radiator and already put a few dents in it. So I bought this off of Amazon, this radiator guard, just to protect that. The stock exhaust system was horrible. It weighed about 35 pounds. I took it off, put on this cheap eBay knockoff muffler, which I would say only weighs about 5 pounds. So I took that off and lost a lot of weight. One other feature of this bike I feel is really just dumb. I don't understand why they did this. The front tire uses a tube and the back tire is tubeless. If you're going to engineer the front tire to have a tube in it, why not the back, or vice versa? Why would you put a tubeless in the back? It doesn't make any sense. Neither one is very easy to switch or repair on the trail, so why not just go tubeless so you can throw a plug in it and fill it back up with more air? I don't understand why they did that on this bike. The windscreen on this bike is barely sufficient on this bike as well. There is a lot of turbulence right where my head is on the bike. If you're also riding this bike, this is one other thing I just hate about this bike. When I'm riding it behind like any vehicle, like whether it's a truck, whether it's a semi or a car, there's so much turbulence coming off the car, it just shakes this bike. I've never felt that before on another bike I've ridden. So it's kind of weird. All right. Let's go into the last thing that just absolutely drives me crazy. Setting the traction control, the engine power, or like the ABS modes on this is a pain. I read through the manual finally, this is not intuitive. Basically, to change the traction control, you need to have the bike on without the engine on to change the traction control mode and your power mode on the bike. The ABS will not switch very easily. I mean, this should be doing it right now, but it does not like to switch. See, I have to hold it down to get it to do anything. And then, let's say I do get it into off-road mode. The front ABS is still on. The back ABS is disabled. And then in here we have a gravel mode, which I really do like for off-road riding. But it's very hard to get the traction control to turn. Well, there, this time I actually did it. To turn off. The traction control modes generally stay where they are, and the engine like tuning stays where it is. But every time you switch this off, it will turn back on the ABS. But the traction control stays off. So why would we have the ABS go back to 1 and the traction control stay off? Shouldn't those systems work the same? I don't understand why it does that, and it's super frustrating. So every time you come back to your bike, if you've turned it off and you're riding off-road, you gotta hope that you can hold that ABS and get it off. So those are the basic things I hate about this bike. I guess no bike's ever going to be perfect, right? But those are just some of the things I find annoying with this bike. Okay, now that I've complained for a while about this bike, let's talk about some of the positive things about this bike that I really do like. All right, let's talk about some of the good points of this bike. I think the engine protection, engine guard here is really good. The skid plate down here is really thick. I've yet to put a dent in that, and I've hit some pretty big rocks with it riding off-road. People are going to yell at me for this, but I did take off the center stand to lighten it up. I think that thing weighed about 10 pounds. So I probably lost like, I don't know, 35 pounds off this bike, which makes a big difference in the performance riding off-road. One other thing I really like is the fully adjustable suspension on this on the front forks. Rebound and compression, plus you can set your preload on the top here on the springs as well, which just makes it ride so much better. It comes really soft from the factory, so definitely look in your manual, learn how to adjust those and do it. The other thing I like about this bike is the brake. You don't even need to touch the rear brake on this bike because the front, your front lever here actually activates the rear brake and the front brake at the same time. I love having cruise control. This bike has good cruise control. It holds its speed very well. It will fluctuate maybe on a hill 1 mile per hour up and down. The TFT display on this thing is excellent. There's a daylight mode, which makes it white, and then there's like a dark mode for night. And it's always clear. It's always easy to read. I do like that. Another feature I really love is this GPS bar on here. I've already mounted up my quad lock up here for my phone, and it works great. Now, I complained a lot about the foot pegs earlier, but I'll tell you what. When you're standing up on this bike and you're riding it, I'm 5'10". This thing is just nearly perfect for me to stand up and ride. I can pull myself straight up and I still have full control of the bars, and they feel good. The steering on this feels great as well. There's really no issues there. When you're sitting on the bike, it's a real natural, like, kind of body position for me at least. The handlebars are just the right distance. I don't have to have my arms fully locked out. They're just nice and loose and I can reach perfectly fine. The levers are a good distance from me, but I did upgrade those. And just seeing down here into your display is really nice. The hand controls and everything are pretty nice. The one thing that's pretty cool about Suzuki's, the start button over here, all you do, you don't even have to hold it down, you just press it. Make sure I'm in neutral. And it fires right up. Let's take a look at the hand controls here and the screen real quick so you can get a close-up look at those. On the driver's side, you've got your cruise control button right here. You've got your hazards switch right there, and you've got your start and shut off button right here. So very easy. Your throttle's right here. The throttle on this is electronic. And on my bike, I upgraded to the heated grips as well. And those things are an awesome upgrade. You should definitely look into doing that. I think there's 2 settings on them, and the first one is hot, real hot. Let's go ahead and look at the other side here real quick. The left side of the handlebar. All right, on your left-hand side, you got clutch lever, obviously. This is not factory. These are the factory heated grips, but I added these on. This is your button to turn on your heated grips. Your horn, your turn signals, and up here is how you control your menus, your modes, and set your cruise control. Very easy to figure out how to run them. And then you've got your high beam switch up here. Very easy to take care of and control. This one does have a hydraulic clutch on it, which is, I find, nice. Let's go ahead and take a look at the display now. Okay, you'll notice the display is super crisp. Right now, since we're inside, we're in dark mode, but there is a white mode. Very easy to read. You've got your analog tachometer right here, your speed right here. This is your quick start here, your quick shifter. You get your mileage. You've got your engine temp. You got your air temp. And then there's different displays down here. That'll be my trip meter, how many miles I'm getting per gallon, my other trip meter, and then how many miles per gallon on that one, and then my distance till empty. You also have a gear indicator here. This is your traction control setting, your power level setting for the engine, and your ABS mode that you're in. Over here, you've got warning lights for traction control, oil level, oil pressure, your gear, your ABS, and other such things in here. Your turn signals as well will show up on each side there. Just a really nice screen to read. And you can read it even with the sun on it. I mean, right now there's a light right above us, right behind us, and that's doesn't have any reflection on it. It's crystal clear. All right, some of the things I like on this, we'll just do a walk around. It has a 5.2 gallon tank, which actually gives you some pretty good distance on this bike. I usually get around 42 miles per gallon, 43. If I was lighter on the throttle, maybe I'd get better. Handlebars on this bike are decent. I don't know. I don't really have any issues with those. The suspension on them, I haven't ridden it since I've redone some settings on it, but it did bottom out a number of times on me. We're going to try it with some more preload in the front spring, and then I upped my compression settings quite a bit to see if that will help it slow down that compression. The headlights, take a look at them. Headlight is LED, and that thing actually works really good at night. Turn signals in front are LED as well. Turn signals are LED. I love the gold colored shocks, but that's weird that that's the only thing that's gold on this whole bike. It's just odd. The brakes are Tokiko. They are really good brakes that stops that thing in a hurry. The skid plate, I love that. The engine guard is really good. It's very easy to change the oil on this. The filter and everything is really easy to get to. Rear suspension is pretty good as well. There is, you can go around the other side here. You can adjust your rebound under here. There's a little setting in here. Where's my finger? Back in there for the compression. And then you can set your preload out here hydraulically with this knob. And it's set pretty high from the factory, so make sure you change that. That'll change the ride a lot better. It does have a nice top speed. The back seat is pretty comfy. In the back, you have an LED taillight, LED turn signals, and those are pretty nice. Very easy to add a set of bags to this as well. You've got these grab handles and this rack back here. And even though the rack is plastic, it feels really sturdy. The crash bars are awesome. I've dropped the bike a lot because of the things I complain about the most, the foot pegs. Other than that, I've got some war wounds here from some hard trails I was on, dropped it. But that's everything I like about it. The seat is comfortable enough. It's a little weird shaped, but it all seems pretty good other than that. So I know I've whined a lot about this bike, but overall I think it's a good bike. It's been kind of a learning experience. It's been different for me on this bike. I think it's made me a better rider. I definitely like riding this thing off-road. It is fun. I do find joy in it. Making the right mods on this bike really makes it a good bike. Running some better handguards on it like I am now. These Tusk ones are pretty nice. I haven't been able to break lever. I have unbreakable levers on it too now. They're adjustable. And then the exhaust and deleting the center stand on it have really made a big difference on how this bike feels, how it performs. So overall, I give this bike probably a 6 out of 10. It's not my most favorite. And I don't know that I totally wish I wouldn't have bought the bike. I'll stick with it for a couple years probably, and then move on to something else, I imagine. We are looking at bringing new brands into the dealership, so there's always an opportunity to try something new. I've ridden a lot of bikes. I've ridden the T7. I've ridden the 800, the V-STROM 800DE. I've ridden BMWs, the GSs, and I've ridden some KTMs. And I say that's still my favorite bike that I've ridden or had is still my Super Tenere, the 1200. And a lot of people hate that bike. I think it's underrated. And unfortunately, Yamaha doesn't make it anymore, or else I would have bought one, a brand new one. They quit making them in 2023. So it's kind of sad to see those go. They were a good bike. I hope I can get into this a little more. I only have about 1,050 miles on it. And I got a big trip this summer on the Wyoming BDR with some friends. So hopefully I can get into it a little more by then. Anyway, that's my quick review, I guess, my whiny review, whatever you want to call it. But it's just my straight up feelings about this bike. And if you're looking at one, seriously take it for a long ride and see if you can deal with some of the issues I've put up with. And then do the mods that I've done and put some better tires on it, a better exhaust, and you'll like the bike a lot better. Anyway, hope you like that quick review on the V-STROM 1050DE. Make sure to leave your comments below and let me know what you think about it. I'm excited to hear what the people say about it. If you've got one in the States, let me know what you think of it. If you got one in like Europe or somewhere else, and use it off-road, I'd love to hear about it as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.